Hello everybody, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my weekly deck reviews. I have a lot to say today, so this one might run a bit longer than usual. But with that being said, let me give you a little rundown. How this works is every single week I usually work with a tarot deck and an oracle deck, and I rotate them out weekly. So I like to come back to you guys at the end of every week and let you know how those decks worked out for me, how I read with them, like how they played together, whether I, loved them, didn't like them, still like them as much as I liked them before, that kind of thing. And then I will also share with you the decks that I'm going to be working with next week. So with that said, let me just jump right in. So this week I have been working with the Guardian Angel Tarot. This was originally a Doreen Virtue deck, and it is now only under the name of Radley Valentine. As some of you know, Doreen Virtue pulled out of the whole like New Age tarot, all that kind of community. But this deck is such a little gem. Now, I should preface this by saying there's not a single other Doreen Virtue deck that I have ever touched, looked at, looked upon, came upon that I was even remotely attracted to. But there's something about this particular deck that just feels really, really different and kind of unique. So the box is actually really nice, by the way. And it's all sparkly. It's all sparkly. Anyway, I did a really great modification of this deck, which I talked about at length last week. So I will link last week's weekly deck review video up there, but I'm probably going to talk about it again. So, up to you. But so this comes with a quite chunky little guidebook. And this, ooh, no. My cards just started sliding. I caught them though, so we're all good. Okay, so for each card, you pretty much have a little thumbnail image of the card. You have a brief sort of meaning, which does sort of echo the message that's on the card itself, which I'll talk about in a second. And there's also a little additional meanings. This little additional meaning section I did find useful. So I did enjoy looking my cards up in the guidebook as I did my daily draws this week. But let's get into the cards themselves. So this is what the backings look like. Keep in mind that these originally come bigger than this, just a little bit bigger than this, and they're gilded. But what I did was I did the same modification that Dawn Michelle at Boho Tarot did, where I trimmed about, I think it's a 1/16 of an inch or smaller off of each edge to get the gilding off. And then I used dewdrop ink pads in pastel colors to do the edges in matching colors to the fronts of the cards. So my cards do look a bit different. So I'm going to hold the deck up because otherwise it's going to try to focus on my face in between. Sorry for the glare. So these cards have these really cute kind of vintage images, which to be honest, I didn't spend a ton of time looking at. In fact, what I really enjoy about this deck are the messages. There's so much text on each card, and normally I would find that really obnoxious. But there's just something about this particular deck. It has this just like vintage kind of feel. And the messages are really sweet. They're not, I don't know how to describe it. Each message is very in line with the Rider-Waite-Smith meaning of the card. It's a very gentle and sort of nurturing deck, but it definitely delivers the messages. Oh, I love this Hermit card, the Spiritual Teacher. And I found that I got really useful information out of the text. Like, for example, in the Hermit card, one of the things it says is use these moments. It says there are great rewards in spending time alone. Use those moments of solitude to focus on love and ways in which you might give to those around you. Shine your light as an example for others to follow. And it goes on. But what I really liked about this is the message I got from it that day was to use my alone time or my hermit time to reflect on how I could engage with others in a nicer way. Oh, I said I wasn't going to do it this way. Okay, I better do it this way so it doesn't keep refocusing on my face. But these cards are really, really cute. I don't know, there's something about them that just, I really enjoyed pulling these every single day. I really enjoyed just sitting with the message. And there's a certain element of, I want to say sort of comfort in the laziness of this deck, if that makes any sense. Because the messages are right on the cards, you could just pull this deck out, pull a message for yourself, reflect on that message, and move on with your day. You don't really have to extrapolate a meaning from the imagery. You don't need to extrapolate a meaning from the words. You can just take it completely at face value, which is something that I think is really, really nice, pardon me. Shayla, will you relax? Shayla, hey. My dog is like talking to somebody in the neighborhood. But this is particularly nice, I think, if you're low energy, you're tired, you don't want to have to really sit and think too hard. Sorry about my dog. Shayla, enough. Hey, stop. She's such a vocal little girl. Do you see her? She's just like, she's like the old lady on the lawn that's like, get off my lawn. Anyway, back to cards. If I can get her to settle down, we'll see. We'll see. I think she's gonna calm down now. But yeah, I just really find that this is soothing if you're in that place of low energy, or you're in that place where you just want a message, you don't want to have to think too hard. I'm repeating myself now because a dog has interrupted us, but there you go. So I have a feeling that this is going to be a deck that I keep near my bedside, because I feel like this would be a really wonderful deck at the end of the day. You're just getting ready to crawl into bed and you just want a quick little message to think about as you drift off to sleep, or you want to reflect on your day. I just think that it's so good for that sort of thing. I don't know. I did do a couple of 3-card spreads with this deck and it was fine for that. I don't know that I would do much larger spreads than that, simply because it's a lot of text to take in and it can look a bit noisy on the table. But there's something about this that just feels really loving and gentle and kind, and I really liked it. So it is definitely staying in my collection, and it is probably going to be one I reach for pretty frequently. Just when I'm in that mode where I just want a message, I just want a little encouragement or a little reflection or a little something to meditate on. And yeah, I will also say for those of you, so I am usually pretty turned off, or have historically, but I'm going to get into that, been pretty turned off by angel talk, by too much talk about heaven and God and all that kind of stuff. I'm kind of moving into a slightly different place about that. Again, I'll get into that in a second, but this deck does not mention God once that I found. It does talk about messages from heaven or messages from your angels, but not so frequently that it got obnoxious to me. So every once in a while a card will say, you know, blessings from heaven are showering down upon you, or something along those lines. And so it was very easy for me to interpret that in a way that felt like it matched up with my spiritual beliefs. It was very, very easy to do. And the angels here that are referenced are not it's not angels every other word or anything like that. So it might be worth a flip through if you have a local metaphysical store where you can take a look at this deck. If this is something that intrigues you because of all the text, maybe pop into a store and just read some of the messages or flip through the cards. If you have a demo deck you can get your hands on and take a look. I know that this deck was on demo in Seattle at East West Books, and I've seen it on demo in other stores as well. Or just watch a really good flip through. I don't have one, but if you want one that you can like pause and read the messages, let me know and I will happily do a flip through of this deck if you can't find one or you want mine or whatever. So just let me know. But I really enjoyed this deck and I'm super pleased with it. So again, that's probably going to stay pretty handy. In fact, I think I'm just gonna keep it in its box here by my bed. So I took it out of its bag. I might use this bag this week. Okay, so the Oracle deck that I have been working with this week is the Divine Feminine Oracle, and this deck knocked my socks off. And partly I think that is because I also read this week, and I'll probably be talking about this again, I'm just reaching for it. I read Mary Magdalene Revealed by Megan Watterson. This is the same author who is the creator of the Divine Feminine Oracle, and this book was a fantastic read, and it really helped to, this is one of those books that I think has the ability to create a lot of healing in that whole pagan Christian chasm of separation I think a lot of us feel. This brings the idea of Christianity and through Mary Magdalene's gospel back to a place about love and revealing that what you need is already within you, and just a lot of really empowering beliefs that are already in line with what I believe, but revealed through the gospel of Mary Magdalene and Megan Watterson's interpretation of some of those gospels. And this was just really, really good. And I think because once I understood where she was coming from perspective wise, this deck made so much sense. And I don't think you need to read that book to get this deck if you're not, let me back up. I was in a place where, let me show you the cards. This is what the backings look like. I was in a place where a deck that mixed pagan goddesses with kind of Christian archetypes, like here we have Mary of Nazareth, was quite a turnoff for me. And so understanding that a lot of these divine feminine figures have relationships with one another helped a lot. Now I know from my time getting to know Yamaya, or Iyamaja as she's sometimes referred to, is that she also has an association with a figure that we would normally associate as Christian. And understanding that there's a lot of these divine feminine archetypes that have, for example, in this deck you will find, I don't know if I just passed her. I don't think I did. In this deck you will find Saint Bridget, and you will also find the Goddess Bridget. You will find, and she talks about that, Megan Watterson talks about that a bit in the introduction to this Oracle deck, where she says, like, you're going to find the sort of the human incarnation or representation of that same figure, divine figure. But there is a wonderful diversity in this deck. There are divine feminine figures from all different cultures. I worked with a Iranian figure. The story of Catherine Labour was really, really interesting to me, and I read about her in the book, but also she tells you in the guidebook, which I'll get into in a second here, she does talk about these figures and what they're just a little bit, it's just a little blurb, but you can always research and dive deeper if you'd like. The artwork is really beautiful. I love the little messages, and the messages in this deck all make beautiful, perfect sense, and they're very non-denominational, non-religious in that way. They're very applicable no matter how you, I think pagans can easily use this. I think Christians could use this if they were open in that way. But things like Kuan Yin, I recognize suffering in order to release it. Curiosity breeds compassion. Or Parvati, the goddess of devotion. I am a love that doesn't leave. When I commit to love, my soul evolves. There's an affirmation with each one. When you get into the guidebook, which is quite chunky, there's a wonderful, the introductory text in this deck is really great. And you get a really good amount of information. Considering that this is an Oracle deck guidebook, you get a ton of information. So Akalanda, the goddess of never not broken. So here's what her pages would look like. So you get your little thumbnail image, you get her title, you get her affirmation. Everything happens for my liberation. I choose to become only more love. Then you get a section on who she is. And so that starts here. It goes all through the following page. And then you get a section called When Your Soul Selects Her Card, and you read through all of that, and it's kind of like, what is it that her what does she have to teach you, basically. And then there's a soul voice meditation. So this could be a journal prompt, or this could be an actual meditation. And so for this particular divine feminine figure, we have, what heartbreak can I see now as an opportunity to expand? And then finally, your intention. Everything happens for my liberation. I choose to become only more love. And that's the same as what's on the beginning here. So she begins with this and she also ends with it. These are really, really powerful, and you have so much you can learn from this deck. I thoroughly enjoyed working with this, to the point that I decided to change up my spiritual deck routine. So I will link up in the cards my video where I talk about my decks I use in my spiritual practice. So here's how it's going to change with the introduction of this deck. So previously I was working with the Goddess Oracle, this one here, and I would draw a card every full moon, and I would work with that energy for the full moon. So I'm going to be swapping this deck out for my full moon with this deck, and I'll be drawing these cards working with these archetypes for a full moon cycle, full moon to full moon. And then because I did that, I decided to make another change. So I have been working with the Weaver's Oracle on the dark moon. This deck is really good, but I'm struggling with it a little bit in that I find sometimes if I don't have enough time to really sit with and pick apart the stories that come with these cards, that I just don't get the diamond, I guess, or the gem. What is it I'm trying to say? I don't get that distillation of wisdom that I'm looking for. It's a little bit too much information to go through. So I'm going to give this one a break. And I'm moving into working with pulling, and this is, by the way, I work with these, I said on the dark moon, I totally lied. I was working with these on the dark moon for a bit, but I was working with these recently during my moon cycle. So when I'm on my period, I would grab one of these and work with them for about a week, or less. depending. And I'm switching out to working with the Goddess Knowledge cards, which are these guys. So these, and I know this is totally like a sidetrack from my weekly deck reviews, but you get to see more cards, so yay, card porn. So these are Susan Sedin-Boulay artwork, but on the back you have a little bit about that goddess, and there's a little message, like she is, so this, for this one, Themis is the artwork. Near the end you see here, Themis is a grounded earthy goddess who is also comfortable moving through the shifting mantic world of dreams. She is deep wisdom, familiar with both the depths of the earth and the heights of the sky, a guide into soul. She's a reminder that social order is ultimately dependent on the natural order of the earth. But there's a ton of stuff that you can dive into with this, but it's just a little bit of text, and I think given my energy level when I'm on my moon time, this just makes more sense. So I'm going to try to work with this one during my moon time and see how that goes. And then also on the full moon, I'm not changing these next two things. So on the full moon, I also work with a Heal Yourself reading card. I work with this for a full moon cycle. This is for my shadow work. It's sort of like my personal growth work. It's just a little prompt. I've shown these before, but I'll give you a quick peek before I talk about all the other stuff related to my weekly deck reviews. So these look like this, and they just have really wonderful messages, and they're really good for just working on yourself, right? So I pull one of these each full moon cycle. And then this also hasn't changed. My dark moon is to pull from the Dark Goddess Tarot and work with one of these for a dark moon to dark moon cycle. So back on track. Let me grab a sip of my coffee. This is a long video. Yay! So also, for the past couple of weeks, I've been working with my runes. So I've been drawing a tarot card, an oracle card, and a rune from my little bag of runes. And what I typically do is I draw my tarot card, I draw my oracle card, I look at those, I reflect on those, and while I'm reflecting on those, I will tie this little baggie up, and I'll just kind of massage it and toss it around in my hands and kind of just play with it, I guess, while I'm reading those cards or looking at those cards. And then when I'm ready, I just open this up, and with my left hand, I just reach straight in. Whatever rune my fingers first grab, I pull it out, and then I just flip it over to see what it is. So that's how I've been working with my runes. I'm going to continue to work with those because I'm enjoying what they're adding to my practice. And then I just look them up, whatever rune I draw, using these. These are the Rune Learning Cards by Living Magic. Jadzia DeForest and Jade DeForest, who put on the Northwest Tarot Symposium each year. I bought these at the Northwest Tarot Symposium. I also have a set of these for astrology. But this comes with a set of cards for each of the runes, and on the back of each has all the text for like the pronunciation, how to use it in a magical working, its key phrases, keywords, all of that kind of stuff, its main theme. And then if it is a reversible rune, yeah, here's one. If it's a reversible rune, then it'll also have some upside down text so that if you draw it, you can put it upside down and see what the differences are if it was to be reversed. So only some runes are reversible, which I actually didn't know. I was like flipping through this deck and I'm like, how come only some of the cards have reversals? And then I would look at the symbol and I'd be like, oh, because it looks the same both ways. Things you learn. But I am new to working with runes, so this has been really, really great. And because there's only a small number of runes, I find that the longer I work with them, the more recognizable these symbols are getting, and that's what I'm liking. So I'm going to continue with that practice throughout the coming week. And now let's talk about the tarot and oracle deck that I'm going to be working with this week. Oh, wait. And the reading cloth. I said wait, like you're going to interrupt me. This is a video. You can't interrupt me. Isn't that great? This is the reading cloth I worked with last week. I used this part primarily. I don't think I posted any pictures on Instagram, but I've been on a staycation the last week. I've taken pictures every day because I put them in my journal, but anyway, this one looked really good, and then on the back was just flowers. I mostly used the goddess side though, but I just thought it was really pretty, especially for the decks that I was working with. So, inspired in large part by my attraction to the Guardian Angel Tarot and because of this book, I've been a little bit drawn. This book actually doesn't talk about angels at all, by the way, I should say, in case I create a misinformation. But partly because of that, I've been feeling a little bit drawn to angel work recently. Probably something to do also with my that Open Gate Witch's Moon box. I will put a link to that one also up there. It was a very subtle angelic kind of theme but it just got me thinking. And also my card I drew the last full moon from the Heal Yourself reading cards had a kind of subtle angelic theme as well. So I'm feeling a little bit of that pull to just play with those energies. So when Peggy and I were out and about this week, I picked up this Ask an Angel Oracle card deck. This is a Blue Angel deck. It's Toni Carmine Salerno artwork. Now, if you don't know, Toni Carmine Salerno's artwork shows up in repeat in multiple decks, Oracle decks. I have another one called the Gaia Oracle that is Toni Carmine Salerno's artwork. So the artwork typically is done and then applied to the meaning, which normally doesn't resonate with me, but I really love this art style. I don't know what it is. And I looked at a ton of Oracle, of angel-based, angel-themed Oracle decks this past week, and most of them are Doreen Virtue for starters. And the ones that aren't Doreen Virtue just were not speaking to me at all until I saw this one. So I saw this one at Indigo, which is the parent company of Chapters Books if you're in Canada. So similar to like Barnes & Noble if you're in the States, but I found this there. And let me show you these. They're really nice. This is a new edition of this deck. I think it was originally published perhaps a little differently, but in this current edition, this is what the backings look like, and these are matte, which is really nice. And these are the fronts. And so these have, like this card, I have it, I think, in every deck that has Toni Carmine Salerno. But I liked this deck because it has beautiful, full, borderless artwork and just a simple keyword: balance, battle, children, clarity, color healing. I have to keep looking at it, I'm sorry, it's the worst. But my little viewfinder isn't very big. But you see, it's really soft, it's really pretty, it's really gentle. And what I like about Toni Carmine Salerno's approach when I looked at the demo deck in the bookstore is that it's similar to this in that it is not speaking about, it's not speaking from a position of denominational. Like, it doesn't feel denominational. It feels a lot more open than that, a lot more expansive than that. So it's got a typical like large size Blue Angel guidebook inside. You get a couple pages on each one. We'll see how this actually reads. What interested me about this is that in the back there is a section called Communicating with the Angels by Martine Salerno, and you have a little blurb on, and I haven't read this yet, but a little blurb on each of the archangels. Archangels, right? Yeah. Which is something that's been interesting me lately. So that caught my attention. And then, because I got this deck, I was like, I really want a Toni Carmine Salerno tarot deck to work with beside the Oracle deck. So I finally bit the bullet. And I've looked at this deck so many times and almost bought it, but I finally got the Art of Love Tarot. This is by Denise, Jarive, and the artwork is Toni Carmine Salerno. And I watched walkthroughs before deciding for sure, and then I called around to see which of my local stores were carrying this and found a copy locally. I have seen the only reader who I watch on YouTube called the Illest Illuminator. For a long time she did readings on her channel with this deck, and I love her style. I've gotten really accurate readings watching her channel. Let me give you a quick overview. So it's Toni Carmine Salerno's artwork. Unfortunately it is still glossy, but I don't mind it. It actually feels really nice. Like, the cardstock is really sturdy. It's not Oracle sized. It's a little smaller than that, but it changes the majors. This just felt like it would read really beautifully next to that Ask an Angel Oracle. We'll see how it works out. I did a full flip through for myself personally, rather, of this deck last night. This is the Chariot, the Path, and I have a reason why I love this image. And it has to do with my chakra path working meditation and the way that I wrote that meditation for the Chariot card. So if you haven't checked out my chakra meditation, tarot meditation that I have on my channel, check that out. That's why I love the Path. But let me get into some of the minors here. So this one is Knight of Angels, Watcher. So the suit of Angels is the suit of Swords. The suit of Hearts is the suit of Cups. The suit of Trees is the suit of Pentacles. And the suit of Stars yeah, here we go. The Suit of Stars is the Suit of Wands. I've watched a few reviews and flip-throughs and walkthroughs of this deck, and I do think that we are going to get on just fine, but we will see how it goes throughout the week. There are these really lovely colors on the edges that match up with the suits, and I may edge this deck to match those colors, or I may go for a gold, or I may just wait. I may just wait until I've read with it for a full week, make sure I'm going to keep it before I edge it, just in case we don't get along. But I think we'll get along okay. And this one comes with a nice sized, again, larger than the deck, just like Blue Angel typically does. So the deck is, you know, that size, and this is the book. But this on first, I started to flip through a little bit. It comes with a bookmark, which is really nice, actually. I started to flip through the introduction. I really like how that is written. The author, Denise Jarive, seems to have taken great care to leave the Rider-Waite meanings intact. They're there. They exist, while expanding on it and making this a deck that is focused on the premise of love, of decisions through love, and of letting love be the guide. And that is kind of ultimately the premise behind this book. So it kind of ties in with where I'm at in my dive into my spiritual practice and the kinds of things I've been excited about learning about and reading about lately. So this just feels very cohesive. I'm really excited to play with these, and I will let you know how they all work out next week. The reading cloth I decided to work with this week is my little owl on velvet. Look at this cute little owl. And then this is the back, and I picked this one mostly for the back, if I'm being honest. So I'm probably gonna use the back a lot, because I just love the idea of this velvet with like this. See, it's gonna be so pretty, look. Anyway, that's what I'm working with this week. So that is it for me. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I will talk to you all again very, very soon.